Dracula Untold is the clue is in the title. It is the untold story of the origins of what is the most famous literary vampiric character that we know of. We start the story in the 1400s with the historical character of Vlad Tepes, who walked this earth in the 1460s, yeah. And it's about his journey through life and his sacrifice and turmoil and responsibility that makes him, forces him to make decisions which change the future of his people and his family and his own life. 7 weeks of training in Northern Ireland, an incredible stunt team, helmed by Mr. Buster Reeves, who I've worked with many times, and he's a fantastic choreographer, stunt coordinator. There's nothing he can't do, and he trained me every day with the stunt guys, and we had huge fight sequences to learn, so much so that we couldn't learn them all before we started shooting the film. We were still learning them 3 months into the movie. I would do them on weekends, in the evenings, you know, so it was really intense, but fantastic, and I wanted to do all the fights myself, so as much as I could, I did myself. The thing about Dracula, and I guess this is all I can say at this point, is that, you know, he's immortal. He can live forever. It's a very lonely, tragic figure he cuts at this point, but, you know, he is a man walking through time, and where we leave the movie very cleverly opens up a whole, you know, gateway of opportunity and options. So who knows where he will go, but who knows, Van Helsing might be a great idea. The other scene I remember brilliantly well is the young Christian Bale in Empire of the Sun. And I remember him standing as a young child and all the planes, the fighter planes going above his head, and he's just standing there watching. This innocence and naivety of a child in the middle of war. And I remember watching it as a child, so it had a big impact on me.
Try not to think so much. Try not to think so much!
I loved the script. I thought it was really an interesting new take on the, well, not even a new take, because it's a story that hasn't been told before, so it felt very new and refreshing, and we're dealing with the original vampire. Well, we're not just dealing with the original vampire, but we're dealing with the man that was a historical figure. He really, that inspired the whole vampire legacy. And we see a man in torment to make a decision on how to fight for his people. His family and his kingdom is under threat from the Ottoman invasion, and he has to find this dark power, and it's a very sad but powerful story. And
welcome to your life.
As a vampire, you know, that thirst for blood never dies, and you know, once you see Gary Oldman's version of Dracula, which we're talking 400 years after where we're starting our story, this man has been living in the darkness for hundreds of years, and he's very thirsty. And I think the reason that, I don't think you're able to choose how you live your life. I think your life is chosen for you by what you've chosen to do right at the beginning. So. Oh, I don't know. Listen, until 2 years ago, I would never have thought I would be playing Dracula. I mean, this business is throws up the most craziest of ideas, and sometimes they work, and this one did. I'd like to play Tom Jones. Yeah. The singer Tom Jones, yeah, that's what I'd like to play. But he's not a historical figure, he's still very much alive.
Welcome to your life.
Well, they're more fun. Feisty characters are fun. They answer back. They stand up for what they believe. Even if what they believe is wrong, they still stand up and they have a voice. And I've always been quite a physical person anyway, so to be able to play those physical factors into my different roles I've played, I guess, it's been good. But yeah, I don't know. Feisty's better than boring, huh?
To your life.
It's very hard. It's very hard to do that. All I will say is it's a story you've never seen. It's a story of love, sacrifice, pain, torment. It's powerful. It's really, really powerful stuff. There we go. That's not even a sentence. That's more like a mini novel, but there we go. It was about meeting him first. We wanted to sort of suss each other out, check each other out before we sort of committed to working together, as it should be. You have to have a good chemistry with the director, especially when you're playing a role like this, which would mean I would spend a huge amount of time with the director. So we met, we Skyped a couple of times from London. He was in LA, and then I flew to LA and met him there. And yeah, we both were on the same page, I think, from the beginning. We were both very excited. It was his first feature movie for a studio as well, and it was also my title role, my first title role for a studio. So yeah, we felt like we were both in the same place, and we thought we would have a really good time, and that's how it started, basically. Yeah, I got the best of both worlds, I guess. I was able to do a bit of the hero and a bit of the monster. But yeah, it was the torment and the struggle inside the character, which was the fun part of the job. It was really challenging to play equal amounts of, you know, torment. It was like a tug of war, which is great. Yeah. Maybe. I couldn't say for definite there was one specific vampire that sort of I referenced. It really is about, the story is about the man as much as it's about the vampire story. It really is about the man turning into the vampire and his struggle with deciding and understanding what was happening to him. So it's a very different story to any story people have seen connected to vampires before. It's a very interesting journey, and the transition that he goes through once deciding to drink the blood is the very interesting part of the film. It would have to be Coppola's movie, Bram Stoker's Dracula, with Gary Oldman. I've worked with Dominic before. We worked together, I think it was about 5 years ago now, in a film called Tamara Drew, which I think did okay in France, actually. Yeah, so I've known him for a while. We were enemies in that film, and we are enemies again. But no, we have a good chemistry on screen, and yeah, we enjoyed playing enemies again. And Sarah Gadon obviously is, well, she's beautiful, she's incredibly talented, and she holds her own in this film. She's one of the only females in the movie. It's a very male-heavy movie, so she has a very important role to play. And I think she does an incredible job as not just being the female character, the love interest, but she's also this very strong woman who supports her husband, even when what he's doing she probably doesn't agree with. She understands why he's doing it and supports her husband. She's a fantastic actress, and she was very easy to fall in love with. There's a lot. I'd like to work with Clint Eastwood. I think would be fantastic. Wes Anderson is one I've always loved the idea of working with. I've also ticked a lot of boxes by working with Peter Jackson, which was a very special moment, and Stephen Frears was always a moment of my career which I was very proud of. Voulez-vous que j'aille avec moi cette fois? Yeah, that's about it. No, I know a few things, but I don't know that much. I did actually do a musical called Piaf, yeah, where I played Yves Montand, which was probably one of my most favourite memories of theatre. Pam Gem's play that we did in the West End of London many years ago. Yeah, so I love Piaf, I love her music, and the story is great. It was a new story. It was a story that people don't really know that much about. It's about the real man, the historical figure that Dracula was based on. It's a huge responsibility. Helming a film, you're playing the title role, so it's on my shoulders. But, you know, I've been working very hard, and in 6 years I've sort of managed to progress and climb up the ladder, as it were. And so I was ready for it, and I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. I'll say it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it certainly didn't put me off doing another one. It was a part of the story that hadn't really been told before. It was about the man, the real historical figure that walked this earth in the 1400s. And it's about his life as much as it's about the vampire. And that was what excited me, that we were going to tell a story that most people who come to watch this movie will not be expecting. That was the exciting bit.
We make the most of freedom.
We shot the movie in a place called Belfast, which is in Northern Ireland. And it's a wonderful city, a really fun city. I've shot another movie since making Dracula there. It has everything. It has the studios, it has a brilliant city, a vibrant city, a passionate people. And for the locations in the movie, we had the Northern Irish landscape, which is incredible. We have the Giant's Causeway, which we were very lucky and allowed to shoot on. We shot in beautiful parks and forests and lakes and mountains and rivers. Yeah, we made the most of where we were, and it was fantastic. You know, this is a huge movie, and I was in every single day. I didn't have one day off, so I was always very sort of, I had to be on it every morning, but it was fun. I remember as a kid, I always used to think there was something under my bed, always. So I would always I couldn't have a hand out of my bed when I was sleeping, or a leg or a foot. They would all have to be inside the bed, and the blankets used to have to be tucked underneath. I had a very vivid imagination. I can thank my mother for that. Yeah, that's a funny, weird thing that you have as a kid, I guess. I must have seen something on the TV that I shouldn't have seen when I was a kid. Now I don't really have many phobias. I'm not so fussed on spiders. I don't like spiders so much, but I could probably get over it if I had to for something. But heights I'm a little funny about, but I've overcome that. I did some free fall parachuting recently, so yeah, I mean, phobias are all up here, you know, that's the thing about phobias. You can get over them, but you just need to have the right people and the support and, you know, talk yourself out of it most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really big. I always had them. They're just, somebody asked me on set when I was doing Dracula, they were like, why have you still got your fangs in? They thought I had the fake ones in. I was like, I don't have, these are my teeth. It's, yeah, it's very odd. I mean, I was obviously meant to play a vampire at some point in my life. I feel very honored. And also what's exciting about this portrayal of him is that you don't just meet Vlad the Impaler, but you see Vlad's transformation into one of the most famous literary Dracula vampire characters ever written about.
I have been waiting an eternity for a man of your strength. But what kind of man crawls into his own grave in search of hope?
A desperate one. What was brilliant about this was that it was about the human, about the man behind the vampire, and about his struggles and his life and his journey through life, and what decisions he makes in his life to protect his family and his wife and child and people and kingdom.
Drink.
What's happening to you?
I chose this. It's a tragic story. It's a man who tries to do the right thing and makes certain decisions that lead him down a path which he's unable to come back from.
You did this for us.
In 2 days, I'll be restored. He also does it for a very good reason and saves his people, but you end with a very lonely individual, you know, somebody who he can't go back. He can only go forward, but not in the way he was, but in a very different form.
啊！
trained for about 2 months before we started the film. I was there 7 weeks before everybody else in Belfast, in Northern Ireland. And I trained every day. We just started learning the choreography, and they were very, very technical stuff, really technical. The diet was incredibly clean and boring, and there was no alcohol or chocolate or sweets, and that went on for 4.5 months. Yes, I did do probably 95% of what you see on the screen is me. I play a character called Vlad Tepes, who was an historical figure who walked the earth in the 1400s. He was a man who ruled a country. He was a father and a husband and a fighter, a warrior, a ruthless warrior, but also a very successful leader, and had the love and respect of his people and the respect of his enemies. We catch him in the beginning of the film where he's reigning over a very peaceful period in his kingdom. And then the Ottoman invasion is slowly progressing itself through Europe, and this is all historical. This all actually happened, and he then there's demands that his child and the sons of his kingdom are taken by Mehmet and reared by the Turks to fight for them, and he's not going to have any of that. Unfortunately, with a small country, he has no army and all of that stuff, so he has to really. He's left with no options, and this is where you then realize this man has to find the power from somewhere else, and that's when he starts to transform.
What's happening to you?
I chose this.
But why?
There's no turning back.
What was nice is that as it was his first feature film, it's obviously not my first feature film, but my first title role in a studio film, we both had a lot to prove to each other and to the world. So we had each other's backs and we supported each other from day one. And we both, he's Irish and I'm Welsh, and we sort of have a Celtic connection straight away, and we both got each other. We understood each other very well, and we both really wanted to do the best job possible, which was what we've done. And we enjoyed the process as much as we could, and some days were difficult, some days were hard, and some days were very easy and enjoyable, and we laughed a lot, and some days we didn't. But that was the intensity of this film, and it was a very demanding film emotionally, physically. It was technically, it was also very, very complicated. But yeah, that's what you get with a big movie like this.
I'm the thing men fear, not a ghost, something else. I see the devil inside him!
Discussions have been had, yes. I think if that does happen, then if Dracula is involved, then it will be me, yeah.